explaining the Flying Raijin Jutsu, aka Hiraishin, by Swagkage. I, as somebody that loves Naruto, somebody that played the CCG for a number of years before it unfortunately shut down in 2013, still sad about that. Love what Swagkage brings to the table. I figured that we would go back and look at Flying Raijin, Hiraishin, if you will, and see what Swagkage can bring to the table, see what explanation he has, see if there's a gap in my memory, see if there's a citation that I missed, just kind of looking over it, wanting to have some fun. I figured we'd take a look at it and potentially even look into some CCG experience that I had in regards to flavor in the game. Let's get into it.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about the Flying Thunder God technique, though you may also know it as the Flying Raijin Jutsu or Hiraishin no Jutsu. This is one of many ninjutsu created by the second Hokage Tobirama Senju, and is an S-class space-time ninjutsu that allows a person to leave a mark on any object, surface, or person that they can teleport to at any later time. There are almost no restrictions involved in using this technique aside from its steep learning curve, meaning that it can be applied in almost an infinite number of ways. The only requirement for a user of the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport to any place of their choice is for them to have left one of these markings there. And that's not very difficult to do under any circumstances because
it's really not. So being able to leave this actually does facilitate a lot of big brain plays. And this could even also be why it's considered S-class. It could be that it, one, has a high learning curve, but two, it's also incredibly dangerous, right? Can you imagine if someone like early Shippuden Naruto had access to Hiraishin and he's trying to like hit Deidara so he could just warp to Deidara? But Deidara obviously has explosive pigeons and stuff like that, so he's gonna be able to just it's not gonna work. Even then, as it does have a steep learning curve, as Swagkage is saying, and you have, what is it, the three bodyguards around Tsunade who can use Hiraishin, but it takes all three of them linking their arms together when Minato can seemingly just throw it out at will. Tobirama can seemingly throw it out at will. And all it takes is just leaving a specific mark. So I'm assuming the marks have in some way, shape, or form has their own user's chakra put into it at some point, which I mean would make sense, right? You have the explosive tags and stuff like that where you have ninja all the time in the universe just dropping chakra into things to cause a certain effect, right? And so yeah, putting your chakra into an object, into a symbol, if you will, even if it's just tagging somebody, right? To be able to leave that mark and to be able to recall, if you will, to recall to that mark is how I'll do it. I mean, you can warp between any of the marks that you have made, or if you link up with another person using another Hiraishin user, right? Minato and Tobirama being able to combine their marks, or at least be able to share between them. That tells me that there's some kind of chakra signature involved, and you could share that chakra signature with other people to give them access to your specific things, which is very interesting. You'd assume there's a certain rage unless it's dictated by chakra and how far you can teleport at once. It really depends, because the more you understand it, the seemingly more negligent the chakra cost is. Minato can spam this. He was known as the Yellow Flash in the third Great Shinobi World War, right? He was known as the Yellow Flash because he would just warp he was so good at his job. He was flee on sight. And I think Fugaku was the only other one to do that. Wicked Eye Fugaku was the only other one to be flee on sight, which we don't really have any concrete feats from him, from my understanding. But it's negligible to at least Minato, and seems like it's negligible to Tobirama as well. All it takes is for them to use their big brain plays to be able to drop these marks where they need it and to, warp where they need to. And it does facilitate Naruto being a faster series, absolutely, right? Naruto, I would argue, is going to be faster than... I can't even say faster than One Piece, because I actually haven't really seen too much of it, right? But in regards to anything with an instant teleportation technique, using that space-time classification, it's just going to be faster. Minato being able to use this is already in the S tier. He already surpasses, not 8 Gates Might Guy, already surpasses Sharingan Kakashi. He is able to just do incredible feats in comparison.
There's practically no known limit to the amount of surfaces a person can place one of these markings on. Weapons, clothing, the ground, parts of the environment like trees and boulders, another person's bare skin even. It's possible to leave the technique's mark on all of these things and then some. Further,
the way it always came across to me was that you are using chakra to leave that mark, like as stated previously. So you're effectively channeling your chakra to leave your specific mark, your specific chakra signature into a form on a surface, thing, place, etc. And in doing so, all you need to do is make sure to recharge your own chakra. Oh darn, you're gonna go take a nap, right? Cool, now you're back to full, right? And that's if it takes enough. I mean, with Minato, I'm assuming he's dropping these things left and right, no problem. He has a way of understanding how it works. That being said, his Hiraishin mark is long. It's several characters long, right? Versus Tobirama's, which was a kind of a shorter symbol. So that also might play a part in that, right? The complexity of that seal could, in fact, lead to a diminished chakra cost in general. And unless it's very hack circumstances, the mark doesn't actually really go away.
Adding to that, the Flying Raijin is not stated to have any range limit and is actually implied not to have one many times. Minato practically confirmed this when he gave Kakashi a kunai knife marked with the Flying Thunder God seal as a gift for his promotion to Jonin. And
so when he said to throw that, right, if you ever need him, this also tells me that Minato has some ability to understand when this is being used. So in throwing it, right, Minato would come to that location. He has some chakra connection to every single seal.
Went on to say that as long as Kakashi was carrying this knife, Minato would be able to teleport to him under any circumstances when he was in danger. Keep in mind that Minato said this in the middle of the Third Shinobi World War, meaning that he could be literally countries away. So even if there is a cap on how far users of this jutsu are able to teleport, it's practically irrelevant if the distance is that massive. Further adding on to that, there is also no known limit on the amount of seals a person can create with the Flying Thunder God technique. It's worth noting that when users of Hiraishin use the technique to mark a new object or location, any previous markings they have created will not disappear. Minato even flat out...
It's not like a consistent upkeep. Like, for example, if you're looking at like a CCG, think like Magic the Gathering, right? If you have a card that costs 2 mana to play, right? Cool, you've played that. If you have a card that costs 2 mana to play, but every single turn you have to pay 1 mana to upkeep it or it's destroyed, it's the former, not the latter. You pay the upfront investment of your chakra cost using your chakra signature to drop that seal on something, and that seal has now been placed. It has now been created, and you don't have to spend chakra to keep it going. Whereas other specific jutsu in universe have required chakra to keep going, right? Where Hashirama's gates, right? So when he was trying to contain the Ten Tails, right? And they did that Kage level red barrier, right? You see that they still had to channel into that. There's a specific jutsu variant of the Flying Raijin where he has to channel. It's like a reverse AoE Flying Raijin, and Minato has to channel into that. Where if he let that go, that would just collapse in on itself and cease to exist. Where he has to channel into that. Leaving a Hiraishin mark itself just requires the upfront investment.
Tells Obito that the seals created by Hiraishin users never disappear. Not under normal circumstances, anyway. And since there's nothing that even begins to imply that there's a cap on the amount of seals a person can create, it's probably safe to assume that Minato and Tobirama can create an unlimited amount of these markings. So the formula markings themselves effectively have no limits placed on them. But what about the technique itself? How does it work, and how does it involve interacting with these markings? Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's very simple. It just involves a user of the technique teleporting to any of the markings that they have created. There are no extra conditions that need to be fulfilled after the formula has been placed somewhere either. No hand seals need to be weaved, there's no need for any kind of summoning contract, none of that. Furthermore, the teleportation has no startup time either, at least not when Minato uses it, as every instance of Minato employing Flying Thunder God has always been instantaneous. The actual process for the teleportation has been described as the user immediately being sent through a dimensional void and coming out through the other side at their intended destination. Very similar to Kamui in that regard, though I doubt it's...
Kamui, specifically the way Obito uses it throughout early Shippuden, does have a little bit of a cast time to it, though. It has a little bit of a startup time. So in regard to startup time, because I think that people are going to mention the 3 shinobi around the Hokage, around Tsunade, right? How they have to link their hands together. That, I would say, is just to make sure that the seal is intact and to make sure that the environment is closed. That way something doesn't go catastrophically wrong. And it's whenever they decide to initiate it, it's not like that while they're holding hands that entire time it's charging. I don't think that at all. I think it's they're just making sure everything is safe and secure for when they do use Hiraishin, they just jump whenever they cast it, is how I look at that. No, Hiraishin is very, very neat in the regard that it has an activation window that beats a Obito Kamui.
It's possible for anybody to willingly teleport themselves into this void for any extended periods of time. Anyhow, just like with Kamui, it seems that skilled Hiraishin users are able to use it in exchange for a negligible amount of chakra. Tobirama and Minato especially both spam this jutsu, though there are certain factors that can be introduced to increase this technique's chakra cost. Also, the amount of chakra consumed might be entirely analogous to the skill of the user, as is the amount that a person can actually get out of using this technique. While Tobirama is able to teleport both himself and other people and objects effortlessly using Flying Thunder God, and Minato is able to use it in rapid succession with just as much ease, the only other people capable of using the Flying Thunder God technique are the Hokage's guards, 3 elite Jonin, and they're only capable of using it by locking their hands together, standing in a specific formation, and combining all of their chakra together at once. None of them can use Flying Raijin individually without standing in this formation, and so as you can imagine, they don't get nearly as much out of it as Minato and Tobirama do. A ridiculous amount.
I think a lot of that comes down to, it does come down, I think, to skill and intellect. Like, the Hokage's bodyguard are clearly going to be intelligent individuals. I think it comes down to Minato being realistically just an absolute genius and being able to think in different ways that and understand Flying Raijin on a just different level. I think that's what led to such a negligible chakra cost at that point, as far as I would be willing to say.
Amount of skill is required to use this jutsu to its fullest potential, and this is made no more evident than by the fact that Minato is able to apply it even better than Tobirama can, and Tobirama's the one who created the jutsu. Now, even when bearing that in mind, both Minato and Tobirama have accomplished some crazy things with Flying Thunder God. The sort of stuff that they've been able to pull off with it really pushes the jutsu's previously established boundaries. When being used in skilled hands, it's capable of doing quite a bit more than just teleporting the user, though some of their applications can be described as advanced levels of basic teleportation, like Tobirama's Flying Thunder God Slash. Many of the things that they have pulled off indicate an incredible amount of skill with the technique. They've both shown the ability to teleport anything that's connected to their chakra, and when they do so, they're both capable of choosing whether or not to teleport themselves as well. Tobirama has teleported himself along with Naruto, and has also chosen to teleport people without teleporting himself, and he's also used the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport a truth-seeking orb. Minato has used it to teleport a Bijudama from the full-powered Kyuubi no less, and a Bijudama from the Tin Tails. When drawing from Naruto's chakra, Minato also managed to
So from what that tells me, because this is the AoE, right, is that he's having to channel to keep this open, and this would have a naturally way higher chakra consumption cost. Channeling into this ability, channeling into the Flying Raijin to send it to the other dimension at that point, and then
the Bijudama
on activation, that's when Hiraishin would actually activate,
from
sending
the
it to
Tin
another
Tails.
point.
When drawing from Naruto's chakra, Minato also managed to teleport both he, Naruto, and the rest of the allied shinobi forces at the same time, simply because he was locking hands with Naruto, and Naruto's chakra was tied to everybody that Minato teleported. Tobirama has also made it evident that it's possible for a skilled user of the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport themselves or a target to a seal created by another Flying Thunder God user. And when working together, Minato and Tobirama, by marking themselves with their respective Flying Thunder God markings, are able to switch places using this technique. Of course, all of these secondary applications likely require more chakra, though it's impossible to gauge how much, since most of these showings are from when Tobirama and Minato were reanimated and had
teleporting the entire shinobi force, like that's a feat, absolutely, but it is impossible to gauge with our current understanding, because Edo Tensei zombies do have infinite chakra. So that is, for all intents and purposes, impossible to really confirm what the chakra cost on that would have been if alive Tobirama or Minato, if they could have done that while they were still alive. We just don't have the information.
Unlimited chakra. Regardless, I imagine it requires a higher amount of chakra than the technique's basic function, which is just to teleport the user and nothing more. And this is what the Flying Thunder God is most famous for. Minato practically won Konoha the Third Shinobi World War this way, single-handedly, by using his iconic Flying Raijin inscribed kunai knives that he would scatter all across the battlefield, either himself or with the help of his teammates, which would allow him to effectively teleport anywhere he wanted at any given time during a battle, and gave him complete control over every battle he took part in.
So the fourth Hokage, Minato, is actually kind of an interesting case when you think about him, because he had effectively the right meta pick at the right time, right? So what I mean by that is, say you have, relating to TCGs again, right? if you are playing in a format that is everything is very graveyard focused, right? Everything is going to come back from your grave. Everything in your grave is going to get exiled or banished, right? And you have this deck that effectively locks everyone else out of the graveyard, but you're able to make your own plays just fine, and it doesn't take really anything else for you to do it. Like, it's just a negligible upkeep on your part, right? Like, oh yeah, I just run this specific engine, but I mean, it works with my current deck anyways, right? I mean, that's effectively what he had going. Like, how do you in that era counter the Flying Raijin? You really don't. He, yes, is incredibly skilled, incredibly intelligent. He also, I would argue, would have been less effective after in subsequent war arcs, right? Like, he really kind of had his thing that he did, which was Hiraishin. And being able to use it as effectively as he did really kind of won him a lot of conflicts. But past that point, past that era, or even then, because you'll have, like, say, for example, Seijin Park Pachirisu in Pokemon, right? Seijin Park shows up to a world with Pachirisu because it was the right call for the right meta, right? But now everyone's like, oh, well, I just expect Seijin Park's Pachirisu, right? Or expect something similar to that in a metagame like that. Similar concept. Ironic because Pachirisu's, lightning, yellow flash. It's funny.
He was able to slay dozens of people by the second using the Flying Thunder God technique this way. Not to mention the fact that kunai can be thrown allowed Minato to teleport into the air, to the location of an airborne kunai, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Anyhow though, I think that about covers every detail of the Flying Thunder God technique. If I did miss anything important, let me know in the comments below, but I'm pretty sure I got everything, so this is where I'm gonna end the video off. As always, thank you guys for watching the video all the way to the end. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. And if you really love me, maybe check out my Twitter and Patreon. As always, thank you guys for watching the video all the way to the end. If you have any ideas for future video topics you want me to cover, leave them in the comments below. And I hope to see you in my next video. Till then though, talk to you later. Swagkage out. Bye.
It was a good video. I liked it. Whoop. No, it was very good. And I don't think he really missed anything there. I think that he hit everything on the head. He hit the Flying Raijin AoE. He hit the Elite Hokage Guard. He hit Minato being undead, as well as Tobirama, and potential issues with trying to gauge chakra consumption, gauging that there would be additional chakra consumption in regard to using that on such a vast amount of people. It was a very, very good video, and I absolutely loved it, which if you haven't seen Swagkage, if you want to check out more of his works, I absolutely recommend that you go check out his work. And now for kind of my isms on this. As you know, I used to play the Naruto CCG. There was actually a banned 4th Hokage because he was absolutely disgusting. This was obviously from set 22. This was the Supremacy line. In terms of Supremacy, you actually had a whole line of Hokage that did this. You had first Hokage Supremacy, second Hokage Supremacy, second Hokage Supremacy. I still run in multiple decks because even out of one of he's disgusting for water. Third Hokage Supremacy, Set 25, Kage Summit. Third Hokage was way better. Fourth Hokage Supremacy. We even had a fifth Hokage Supremacy. So we had the whole line of super rares. And the thing I liked about the Naruto CCG is it actually fit a lot of things lore-wise, and it actually fit a lot of things thematically. So you have his ability, right? EOJ, Exchange of Jutsu. So think kind of like a quick play. Like on your turn, a quick play spell card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or in Magic the Gathering terms, think like an instant speed, right? So you would discard 2 lightning cards from your hand. You'd place this ninja card. So you'd place this from your hand into one of your battling teams. Your teams are only allowed to have up to 3. So, this also gives you a boost in regards to team strength. Then you would injure one opposing ninja at the end of this turn. Move this ninja to your hand. So what you do with him, right, is if you have the resources for him, you're swinging with your team. Maybe you got your third Hokage from Kage Summit in there because he has lightning as his element. His element is disgusting. He has fire, water, and lightning. My favorite card in that game, most probably, I would say. God, he's disgustingly good. And so what you would do is say you're attacking with your team. Say your team has a total power of, God, what numbers am I hitting? Like a 7, a 3, and a 4. So it's a team of 14 coming at your opponent. Oh, your opponent's blocking with a 15. They're out of gas. Okay, cool. Pitch 2 lightning cards from hand. Throw 4th Hokage into team. Throw them in the rear. Cool. Get a +3 to that team. Now you're having a 17 facing that 15. Get out of my game. Oh, wait, but I'm also injuring, aka tapping. So when you injure, they use this up and my head's kind of blocking it. Give me a second. Injured, they use this stat right here, the the one on the right facing upwards. You can't see my mouse cursor, but it's that one. And oh, cool. Yeah. So your Supremacy Hokage, right? That's an 8-1 healthy, like a 5-0 injured. Yeah, that's now 5-0. So now your 15 is going to be down to like 12, right? So now it's a 12 versus the 17. Get out of my game. I win. And that's part of why I love the CCG, is that there were a lot of thematic cards like that. He was a little too good. Like he deserves a spot on the ban list, like how Curse Mark Sasuke, not the not chibi one, deserved his spot on a ban list. There was a lot of God, he did a lot. But yeah, if you're curious about more Naruto CC, yeah, the 5-5, yes. If you're curious about Naruto CCG, I might be inspired to make a video on it because I have a little bit of playtime. I'm no expert by any means. I never got to Jonin or anything, but I actually had a really good match a couple years ago against our local Jonin, who he placed as a Jonin in a tournament. Had a really even match against him with my homebrew. So yeah, let me know if you want Naruto CCG content, because I can do edited content on that, no problem. What are your thoughts on the Flying Raijin Jutsu? Do you think anything was missed? Did you used to play the Naruto CCG as well? What are your thoughts on Minato and him kind of being the right person for the right war, if that makes sense? Yeah, let me know in the comments section. As always, if you have not checked out Swagkage, please go check out Swagkage. He puts out amazing work. He did do a lot of these series, and you can see that they were very, very popular, and absolutely you should go check them out if something does interest you from his watch list. I would love to do what I can to help him get over that 2 million mark in what circles I am in. So definitely go check him out, and I will see you in the next one.